For those of you who binge eat, you may or may not know why you binge eat or what causes you to binge eat, whether it's anxiety or sad emotions or deprivation or whatever it may be. And even if you do know exactly what caused it, it doesn't mean you're any closer to figuring out what you can do instead of binge eating or how to stop the cycle when you know it's about to happen. Hey guys, I'm Whitney. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a Q&A. Today's question comes from @EmmaGeneTheMachine. She messaged me and asked if I could touch more on anxiety-induced binge eating, especially at nighttime. So when I asked her to explain on that, she said, for me specifically, I've always struggled with eating and binging urges at nighttime when I have the most anxiety and downtime. I was also taught at a very young age by my mom that eating is just what we do when we're feeling tough emotions, something happens, or we have anxiety. I can almost always pinpoint anxiety as a trigger for such urges if I'm mindful about it, but that still doesn't help expel any of the uncomfortable feelings, and I almost always end up giving in, which usually leads to a full-blown binge or at least lots of overeating. Not sure if that makes sense. Let me know. Thank you so much. So thank you so much to EmmaGeneTheMachine for asking that question. Before we get started though, quick disclaimer, these answers are for educational and informational purposes only and do not replace the advice of your personal medical professional. So first of all, I absolutely love that you pointed out that you learned to emotionally eat from your mom. Unfortunately and fortunately, the first place we learn about food is from our parents. So if our parents, especially our moms, because they receive a lot of these diet culture, like you have to be thin messages in way more aggressive normalization than we do now, because intuitive eating and body positive movements and things like that didn't exist before. So our parents are going to be the ones who are going to teach us how we should see food. And a lot of times that does involve emotional eating. So even though it's not your mom's fault that this is how she learned to treat emotions, it is still an important piece of the puzzle to recognizing how we can move forward. The first thing I noticed is that this happens at nighttime, right? And at night, the reason why we tend to get more anxiety is because it's silent. So we're actually alone with our thoughts and our feelings, and that can be a really scary time. And even though we try to drown out some of this anxiety with TV or social media or whatever it is, this is a time where feelings are going to come up if they have been suppressed until that point. It sounds like there might be something driving the anxiety in your life that you are not dealing with, and then they're coming up as soon as you have silence. Also, because you learned to treat emotions with food, this is like the top way that you soothe emotion, which is not a bad thing. It's not inherently wrong to soothe emotions with food. It's just not very helpful. If you get anxiety at night and then all of a sudden you start thinking, well, the only way I know how to deal with my anxiety is through food, then of course you're going to end up getting secondary anxiety because you're afraid to binge eat. We associate binge eating with this negative space and this really uncomfortable feeling. So then when we start getting uncomfortable anxiety, then we're like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to binge eat. And then it's like gives us more anxiety about binge eating. And so now we're like, I have this quadruple anxiety and we don't even know what to do with it. And then we just end up in the fridge eating everything in sight and just not understanding how we even got there in the first place. I totally feel you. I used to have a lot more trouble sleeping than I do just because I was so anxious at night. And then I would stay up on TV or stay up on my phone or something because I was scared of the silence. I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. And so I would go to these devices and then I'd be up so late. So that's something to definitely recognize. Like, is it the silence that is causing you to have anxiety? And what is this anxiety about? You have to feel your feelings. This is so important for stopping binge eating in general, is being able to address and feel the underlying feelings that are coming up and causing you to binge eat. Emotional eating is a numbing mechanism. When we eat, it sends off this dopamine response. Dopamine is like a happy neurochemical in your mind. We associate eating with all of these positive things in our life. And so when we are eating, we're sending off these like happy signals that are telling us it's okay, we're happy, we're happy, we're happy. And so if we have sad feelings and we turn to food, we're telling our brain it's okay, we're happy, and we're numbing those sad feelings. So even though it feels like you are treating your emotions with food, what you're actually doing is numbing your emotions with food. And that's a really important distinction. You know, when you binge and then you obsess about it afterwards, like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. Oh my gosh, look at my body. Like, I'm never going to be able to stop this. That obsession afterwards is also a numbing mechanism for the original feeling. Something caused you to feel upset. Then you got anxious about needing to binge. Then you got anxious because you binged. So all of this is getting you further and further away from the original problem that got you there in the first place. It almost becomes more comfortable to sit there and binge and hate yourself for binging because we're so used to it at this point. We're like, oh, I can't believe we did this again. It doesn't feel good, but we're used to feeling ashamed of that. So it's almost easier. The final thing you need to understand about emotional eating is it's a habit to dealing with your emotions. So the only way to stop a habit is to replace it with a different, more productive habit, a habit that will enable you to feel your feelings. So great, we have all this information, but what do you do? That still doesn't really help us. Here are the steps that I want you to take next time you feel yourself needing to binge eat. So first, since emotional eating is a habit you have learned over the course of your lifetime, this will happen again. Every single time this does happen, you need to practice forgiving yourself and using this as information. Approaching emotional eating from a curious mindset rather than a judgmental mindset, because it is telling you that there is something else going on. The next thing you want to do is try channeling that into a habit that will help you feel your feelings. I always recommend that clients start with writing. So doing a little journal entry or something that says, this is how I'm feeling right now. I really, really want to binge eat. Even if I end up doing it, I will let myself do it, but this is how I'm feeling. Because writing enables you to sort of get out exactly how you're feeling and release those emotions. And it may be a little bit scary at first because it might bring up a lot of feelings. You might find yourself getting really emotional or sad or needing to cry or whatever it is. But all these feelings that come up, your body needs to feel them. So I would encourage you to sit there and write and actually allow yourself to have these feelings. Allow your anxiety to flow through you. Allow all of anything that's coming up to come up and put it down onto paper. If writing doesn't work for you, you can try art, you can try, sometimes audio messages work, you can try talking to a friend, whatever you need to do in order to verbalize and release these feelings that you're holding on to. By doing so, not only are we using writing as a replacement habit, so instead of going straight to the kitchen to soothe your emotions, you're going straight to your journal and then maybe to the kitchen, because sometimes we need to just emotionally eat, and that's okay. This is so important. I will say this over and over and over again. You have to feel your feelings, because I promise you, even if you soothe them with food today, they will continue to come back up until you figure out what they are. Finally, as you're practicing this, like I said before, this is going to happen again. So be gentle with yourself. Use this as information that tells you that something is going on, and start experimenting with different ways that you can sort of get out your feelings in a healthy way. I hope this helps. I am so grateful for your question. And if anyone else has a question, feel free to go to my website, whitneycatalano.com/contact, to ask me that question, and make sure you add your social media, or go to my Instagram and DM me, and I will do more Q&A videos like this because I really enjoy actually addressing your guys' real life concerns. Also, please subscribe to my channel below. Click that little bell so that you are actually notified when I release videos. So let me know in the comments below if you struggle with binge eating, what usually triggers your urges to binge, and I will be responding to comments. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.